Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Ask Weldon Show, episode 175. How to use horrible, negative life experiences for the good. Sport psychology version. Okay, this is the Ask Weldon Show. I am Weldon. I'm a sports psychology trainer who works with professional esport athletes, among others. And this is my show where you ask me any questions about life, love, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, actually, pursuit of peak performance, technically, that you desire, and then I answer them with a special blend of sports psychology and coaching experience. You can ask questions for the show on anchor.fm/Weldon Green. Anchor.fm/Weldon Green. There you will find links to all of the podcast of this show, plus the ability to download the app and click audio message me, hold up the phone to your ear, and say, hello, my question is blah, 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 for 1 whole minute, and then it will appear on the show, and I will answer it for you. So far, I've answered pretty much every single audio question I've got. Maybe 1 or 2 has slipped through the cracks for being irrelevant or not being, or like having just answered it, something like that. But even if I skip over it for the day, I will come back to it if it's like bad timing for the question. So don't worry about getting glossed over. It's literally the best way to get on the show right now is to put in an audio question. That is the location I'm going every day for these. And of course, you can also ask in text to me directly on the live stream of the show, twitch.tv/mindgamesweldon, where my hello live audience is currently watching me conduct this series. All right, why don't we jump into the show today? I don't really have any other updates as far as my life and brand. TSM, we already talked about that yesterday. They got third after a marathon day of tiebreakers in the NALCS. G2 got second place. The baby still has not come. I still only have 3 children. The 4th one is just sitting there like, no, it's warm in here. I don't want to come out. So yeah, we're just waiting patiently for him to make up his mind and decide that he wants to stretch a little bit. Yeah, other than that, not much new in the life of Weldon. Since I did the show in a daily way, it's kind of hard to have massive updates, but you get them when you get them. When something happens, I will tell you. Oh, yeah, I'm wearing a hat today. Apologies. It's negative 20 freaking degrees outside, and this room's a little cold. I'm not like trying to use to. Man, it cost 700 euros to heat my house last month in February. Can you believe that? That's how cold it was. It was like negative 20 to negative 30 almost every single day, and I live in an old wooden house. And boy, oh boy, is that yeah. Anyway, so I'm trying not to break and crest like $1,000 house heat bill this month. So hence, this room's a little chilly, and yeah, I'm wearing a sweater and a thank you, Eddie Bauer, First Ascent. Actually, thanks, Mom, right? Because she always buys me these for Christmas. But it's warm. Oh, it's so warm. So anyway, sorry about the sidetrack there. Why don't we jump into the show? Today we have a little bit of a special show. It's called the Irma Show. That's the short name for it. I'm not using that in the title or the thumbnail because obviously you don't know who Irma is, so it won't clickbait you into coming to the show. But it's kind of funny because all 3 questions are from this gentleman named Irma who asked 3 sequentially more interesting questions and really caps it off with a thesis question as the last one. It's just insane how good this question is. And the first 2 are quite fun, so we might get through them quickly. Please forgive the crickets in the background. You might think this is hiss or some sort of static or, a bad microphone or something. It's just crickets. So imagine you're in Florida, imagine you're in the Everglades, and just enjoy the peaceful sounds of chirping crickets as you look at the stars in the dark, dark night and listen to Irma's soothing voice as he asks his question.
Hello, Weldon.
Sorry, guys.
Today I have
it's crickets. Okay.
Question for you. Firstly, I'm wondering, where does your competitive drive come from, and what internal values drives your competitive drive?
All right, so first question. Where does my competitive drive come from, and what internal values power it? So if you don't know what internal values are, in the program that I teach, essentially we try to set goals, that is like ambition goals, right? Things that you want to achieve, but value-laden goals. So goals that have values baked into them. How you do them is much more important than what you do. Let me give you a quick example story of that. You want to be in the NBA. Let's say that's a goal for you. So you're like, no, that's my goal. It's not important, how I do it. It's that I want to be in the NBA. And I say, okay, congratulations. You're a sub in the NBA. You never get to play on the court. And then eventually you get fired from the team. You were in the NBA. Way to go. And you're like, no, actually, I want to be in the NBA and play in a game. Oh, so it is important how you do it. This isn't just like the clarification of a goal, right? Because you might be just like, okay, I'm refining my goal. I want to be in the NBA and play. So I say, okay, congratulations, you're in the NBA. They put you in the game. You fail every single time. You dribble down the court, the ball gets stolen. You shoot, you get stuffed. You look like a fool and a monkey on the court, and like you're batting the ball around, and it's just look like everybody's laughing at you. Basically, you're the joke of the league. And you're like, oh, actually, no, I want to be in the NBA and I want to be a good basketball player. Like, I don't have to be the best, but I want to be like, I want to have a chance to shine. I want to show off my skills. I want a chance to show what I can do. Okay, so I see that it's not what you do that's important. It's how you do it. Because once you put in the values into the goals, it turns out you can achieve them before you actually hit that, like, fantastical marker that you've set there. So for example, I want to display my skill for an audience, my basketball skill for an audience in the NBA, and I want to be dominant, and I want to I want to make a mark on basketball. Well, you might be able to do that like on your way to becoming an NBA player, and if you never make it there, you've still done it, in your high school or in your college team or on your pickup team. That you were aspiring to play in that way, right? Aggressive or dominant or, with great vigor, things like that. So how you do it is very, very important. It's actually the crux of how it is that we want to achieve our goals. And if you nail the how, the what doesn't matter as much. So anyway, what is my competitive drive, and what are the internal values that I use, that I laden myself with to achieve that? How did I get my competitive drive? I'm not really sure, guys. When I was 6 years old, I dove into a swimming pool and my swimsuit came off. And I finished the race, won it, and then I went back and got my swimsuit. And then I got an MVP award for like I will finish the race before I pull up my suit award from my swim team. So for me, the necessity to win has always been above and beyond like other factors in my life. And so I don't know if that's genetic. I don't know if that's from parenting. I assume it's a little bit genetic because my son came out and he's like a clone of me. Of course, I'm also his parent, so like who can say, right? Like he loses a race and he's just brokenhearted. I tried to soundly beat him, in things like foot races and bike races, give him a chance, give him a taste victory, and then like also beat him. And it feels so bad because he just has complete emotional breakdowns. And I try to bring him through that, be like, it's okay, man. You're going to get bigger and stronger and faster. But right now, like, daddy's just the man. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, so this competitive drive, it's kind of irrelevant where it comes from. It could be intrinsic or not. But in your life, you don't need to develop competitive drive. You should either have it or not have it. You should celebrate what you do have and celebrate what you don't have. There are many different ways to tackle life, and having a competitive drive is both a cross and a benefit, right? A burden and a benefit. So if you particularly know that you're driven towards something in terms of having a competitive drive, great. Otherwise, like you have other assets and other things in your life that you struggle with and that will cause bad things for you, like competitive drive causes bad things for me and for other people as well who have it. So mastering that is definitely part of my personal journey. All right, so but what are the internal values that I use to steer my ambition? I think was the more important part of that little kind of like question. And the answer is that let's see, what is my answer? What are the internal? So in a specific sense, like per field, I can answer this. Like I know what it is for parenting. For parenting, I very much am striving for forgiveness of myself as my internal value, and then I would say is it the whole brain child, or like the no drama discipline approach to parenting, where I essentially, not through any sort of like physical discipline or like yelling, coercion, fear, that I'm essentially like, perfectly parenting my kids. And so I'm not really sure how to sum that up in a very clear value, because I've never done the work to put it in a succinct way. But then if I go to my career, it's much easier. My value is to make amateur esport endeavors, or make esport endeavors, not a waste of time for the youth of the world. So that is my driving ambition in life. And I'm throwing myself towards everything that I can possibly do in my work, for the end goal that at some point in the future, people will be playing video games correctly, and it will only improve aspects of their life instead of be a waste of time. Now, I'm not saying that playing video games right now is necessarily always a waste of time, but for a majority of the time, people are actually wasting a lot of time, and they're thinking in their head that it's exclusive, that it's mutually exclusive, that video games and relationships, or video games and friendships, or video games and studying, or video games and these other things are like exclusive of each other, and that they can't feed into each other, that you can't use your pursuit of a particular video game as a sport, as a performer, to like power other parts of your life and make them better than they would be if you didn't play the game. Where the way the world sees games right now is, everything would be better if you didn't play the video game, which is not necessarily true. People don't think that your life is better if you don't do youth sport. They think that youth sport helps you do other stuff better, right? Because you're more motivated by a football practice than you are by a math class. So people can use that motivation, coaches, to teach you transferable life skills and social and emotional skills. And you can use that as a way, like, for example, the NCAA uses people's desire to be athletes to help them get better grades. They say you have to maintain a C, so that it helps them be better students than if they didn't have to be students, right? Same kind of principle. You have something you want, and you put barriers of obligation in front of you, and then you achieve them you use the drive of the thing that you want to achieve the other intermediate obligations that you have, and you're a better off person because of it. So that is my value, essentially, for that. And so to do that, I want to beat everybody else. Yeah, I don't know where that part comes from, but it's kind of not necessary for my actual ambition. All right, let's jump into the part 2 of this question. Or the second question, I guess, of the show.
Second part of my question is, if you could be a top performing athlete in any sport, esport, or profession, or anything else of the likes, what would it be, and why would you choose that field? I know these questions are pertaining to you, and it's really interesting to hear your answers, but your answers also help me out in my own findings of understanding my competitive drive. Thank you very much, Weldon. Also, my crickets say hello. Sorry they're so loud. Bye.
All right, if I could be a top competitor in any sport or field, what would I choose and why? 100% I would choose football or basketball. I think that the things that I want to accomplish in my life require platform, and basketball and football right now seem to have the cultural platform of the time, right? top footballers and top basketball players are the most famous kind of people around the globe in the culture of youth. And on top of that, because they're physical sports, you are limited with the amount of actual training you can do. So the problem with esport right now is that it's very injury free, which means that you can train at 12 hours a day, which means you have to train at 12 hours a day, or you're not going to be a top competitor anymore because you got a bunch of people climbing and clambering up behind you to try to take your slot. And therefore you cannot then spend your time exercising other aspects and hobbies of your life. Whereas once you get to the top of a physical sport domain, you need to strive consistently to stay there, but you're literally limited by the physical components of your body and recovery from doing it 12 hours a day, like 6 hours a day, maybe. Full-time job, sure, like 8 hours a day. But then you have your evening, right? And maybe you have a day off for recovery as well. And then you have the mesocycle periods where you're off. And then there's shorter and less abusive seasons as well. So yes, there's a risk of physical injury, which I don't mind because I love the process of physical therapy and like the reparation of an injury. I like feeling like I can be stronger at the end than when I started. An injury simply points out where the weakness was so that I can strengthen it. But yeah, I would probably choose basketball or football because I played football. I really, really, really enjoy soccer. Football being soccer, of course. I'm talking to the Europeans here. I'm talking about the global #1 sport. I'm not talking about, American football, the little itty bitty sport that kind of like actually makes more money than football teams. But whatever. That's because football is like spread out across the whole globe, right? It's probably a larger industry at large. But yeah, there's like the things that you can do with that platform as an athlete are overpoweringly strong. So those are the two fields that I would choose. I think because American football is on the way out, basically, that's why I wouldn't choose American football. I think basketball is on the way in, and I think it's the sport of our times. It meshes really well with hip hop culture, and it speaks to kids in a way that American football, has ceased to in a large part of its the culture of that sport. All right, now we get into the fun question, you guys. The serious question, but there's a fun element to it, thanks to Irma being a troll.
Hey, Weldon. I have a double whopper question here for you. And the first part of this question is probably the most important question I could ever ask you. So please think very seriously and critically about this question. Anime or ELO?
All right, guys, and the answer, of course, is the MAC program, my video training program for professional and amateur esport athletes. This is a program that I have done and do with teams such as TSM, CLG, G2, and this is the answer to the question that I've been seeking, essentially, like how do I spread this information out to people that I can't actually physically train because I don't have enough time or hours in my day. And the answer is I created a video training course around 2013, 14, 15. I started working on it. This is the third version of it, and it is 50 videos long, and it covers the principal concepts of self-awareness of what is driving you, so the mindfulness aspect, acceptance, so learning how to like lean into those emotions, what emotional states are good, which ones are irrelevant, which ones are ones that you created, which ones are conducive to performance, and which ones are harmful for performance, and then how do you lean into all of them, and then how do you then act or discipline yourself to take action despite your emotional state. So not, I want to win, but I'm tired, but I want to win and I'm tired. Or I want to win, but I'm tilted. Or I want to win and I'm tilted. How do then we control our behavior to like in a daily way, in a task-specific way, overcome our challenges, the internal ones, like the barriers that stand between us and action, and then but do correctly. And this is the answer. I am currently making this into an app, by the way. So version 4 is on the way. And as always, you 100% get grandfathered into the new version if you are a member of the Mac program when when the new version is released. Okay, and when I say member, but it's a one-time price, right? You pay it once, you're in forever, in for life. That's how I've been running the program up to now. I've had over 1,450 sales of the Mac program. Okay, so there's social proof for you that that this works and that people are enamored by it, and the comments and testimonials and stories that I get out of it are absolutely phenomenal. Usually one of two things happens. People either say to me, hey, Weldon, I quit my video game and I did this amazing thing with my life. Or people say, hey, Weldon, I all in on my video game. It made my relationships or my studies or my work better. And I also hit a higher rank, which is my goal. So it's kind of weird to me. I think it kind of like reveals whether you're doing video games for escapism and then you can't tolerate that aspect of your psyche anymore after you face it, or whether you're doing video games for the purposes of self-improvement, and then you're able to fold that mastery, that pursuit of mastery, into other aspects of your life more efficiently with the information and the training in the Mac program. So yeah, make sure you check it out. Go to mindgames.gg/MAC. mindgames.gg/MAC. Use the code AskWeldon to get your discount. That is the code for this show, and it basically just gives you $5 off and tracks where you came from. So I know that you came from YouTube or Twitch. Thanks. All right, on with the question.
Anime or Elo, Weldon? Please answer that question.
Anime.
And the second part of my question is, how do I take negative aspects of my life and channel them into other aspects of my life, like things that I want to get better at? And is that a dangerous thing to do? Like channeling sad feelings or depressive feelings or anger into your other passions? Thanks, Weldon. Have a good show. Bye.
Oh man, Irma, you got it. You nailed it, basically. And not only that, but you got it backwards a little bit with the, is that a negative? Is that a bad thing to do? It is literally the best thing to do. The whole point of negative experiences is that they give you fuel that you can use to better your life. Okay? There is literally nothing you can do about a negative experience. It's past tense. You cannot change the past. The only thing you can do is cope with it. And the absolute best possible situation is that the experience that you had makes you a better person because you use it as fuel and fire and learning and experience for the future, for future decisions or current decisions. Like, that's it. That's the only thing you can do in life. Like, there are these horrific things that will occur to you in your life. Like, you will experience them. Even if you have an amazing life, at some point, somebody you care about will die. Okay? Because, hello, we're human. But it gets worse, right? People will have bad things happen to them in terms of abuse, in terms of crimes, in terms of homelessness, in terms of rape, in terms of wounding, in terms of self-harm, in terms of relational harm, in terms of like bad luck, in terms of chemical, imbalances in their brain, things like maybe depression or bipolar. You will have these horrible negative experiences in your life that are unique only to you, and that other people, yes, go through them, but like they're not you going through them, and they don't have your unique blended cocktail of negative experiences. And once they're past, once they're a part of you, like that's it. It's impossible to go back. You cannot go back and like get unraped. You cannot go back and have your friend be unkilled. You cannot go back and like have your friend not hurt themselves. You cannot go back and like not fail that class. You cannot go back and not get dumped. Like, people try and do spend a lot of effort and time into trying to repair and erase past experiences. But like the reality is that the strength of our psyche to accept, I would say, random chance, right? Because first of all, it's random chance that we're even alive right now. I mean, okay, you can, yes, there's all the arguments about destiny and there's religion and things like that. But what I mean is to think about the opportunity and the chance that you have that you're alive right now at all. And when this thing happens to you in the lottery of life, you can say that it was meant to be, although I'm not really sure I condone that point of view, because I don't believe in some benevolent, wonderful creator who then causes bad things to happen to you on purpose, right? But regardless, like, it's happened, right? And time only travels one direction. That's it. It's this fluid state, and the universe plods on uncaringly, as you would say. And our job, our mission in life is to be this like beautiful, hot spark of life that we fold everything that we have, good or bad, into in a way that is like out there and public. And I don't mean like, flamboyant and loud. What I mean is like that your life and your suffering, even if it's internal, is somehow contributed to humanity. That what you do is something that says like, this is what it is to be human, and doing it even better improves not only me, but humanity itself. And so with that in mind, what you do is you take negative experiences and you somehow overcome them. And it might take time, and it might take therapy, and it might take years, and I'm not trying to make light of it, but you will overcome the need to try to erase it. And at some point you will use it to fuel your ambition. You will clarify what you want, the decisions you want to make. You will look at the barriers in the way of them, and you will take the negative aspect of your life and you will burn it like fire to get the power to overcome that barrier. Simple examples. My entire learning of the Japanese language is based on anger. I was super frustrated at a negative experience that I had at work. I really wanted to tell the people I was employed with like how stupid this thing was in their own language so they would understand. And so for a year and a half, I woke up every single morning like at 4 a.m. to study Japanese for like an hour. And then I studied it at work just so that I could tell people off. Like no other reason than negative experience fueling my passion. I did a dichotomy, right? So I didn't actually believe that, right? I didn't actually believe that like, I'm just doing this to tell people off and that's the only reason. It wasn't like a toxic kind of fueling, but it was my ambition that got me up. And I knew that at the end of the road, like I would know Japanese and that I probably wouldn't yell at people, Another simple example, I quit swimming in 2001 because of an injury in my shoulder. And for years, I thought I was a broken person, and I thought that it was my fault that I failed. And then I started swimming again, and literally within a week of study on the internet and study of my body and study of my stroke and trying to like figure out what was going on, I was able to discover a small flaw in my stroke that had led to this overuse injury. And I was like, holy, did you see that? It was my coach's fault. Like my coach, who I told multiple times about my injury, who just brushed it off and never paid attention to me and never tried to like work on it or figure out what was going on or anything. It was just like, put some ice on it and go. Like, and he was this like, like heralded coach who'd won a lot of records for the school and like was a champion of the school in terms of like the amount of champions that I think it was like a 20-year streak of like Division III championships that he'd won for the school, right? So he was very heralded. He's just churned through me like a piece of lumber to discard if it was flawed. And that negative experience fueled me all the way up to today. For like literally the last 15 years of my life, my main goal has become to be a better coach than him. Of course, I think he's a great guy. And if I saw him, I might tell him about this fun story and like talk about how I've used it to fuel my life and stuff like that. But like, there's no hard feelings. But I manufacture the hard feelings as ambition. I have compassion for him, but I don't want to punch him in the face, but I'm using that experience to make sure that I never injure somebody like that myself, to fuel the care and the compassion that I would put into my coaching, and the desire to create a wholly, fully developed athlete and not just a high performer at the cost of himself, at the cost of his body or at the cost of his career. So that are two simple examples from my life of how I use negative aspects, simple, small negative aspects of my life to overpoweringly power things that I want to do and ambitions that I have. And the more negative your aspect is, the more power you get from it. And I'm sorry for waxing philosophical in the middle there, but I think it's very important to understand that, like, this doesn't come from me thinking that it would be nice, or like hearing it from some other random YouTuber saying like, oh yeah, it was meant to happen and use it for the good. Like, I think that this comes from my fundamental understanding of what it means to be a human, which is founded on, just so you're fully transparent here, my foundational philosophies are Augustine and Kierkegaard, and I am a Catholic. So like those are the drivers of like how it is that I understand reality and see reality, and this is how I believe that. And sports psychology, of course. So like, yeah, massive influences from the science of sports psychology, but in sports psychology, I find huge scientific understandings of ancient philosophies, basically. And the core idea of change in sport philosophy and in many of the ancient philosophies, such as Buddhism, is that it comes through pain. The only thing that causes change is pain. That is what evolution is survival and pain. So when you have pain, you have adaptation and you have growth. And without pain, you have stasis. And I have more or less found that to be the case. Obviously, there is a slow growth that can occur through reflective processes, but boy, when you have that pain, it skyrockets you into the next level of your life like you would not believe if you use it well. So yes, find your pain, cope with your pain, put it in its place in the history and chronology and past of your life, and then use it. Use it. Use it for your own good and your own benefit, because there is no other purpose for it other than to let it harm you, or to use it for fuel to achieve great things. Thanks for the show, guys. Check out the Mac program, mindgames.gg/Mac. Have a good night, or day, or morning, whatever.